Ever stop and think about how a single microscopic germ can cause a massive outbreak? I mean, it's kind of mind-boggling, right? But how exactly do they pull it off? And more importantly, how do we stop them? Well, today, we're going to follow a germ on its journey and figure out exactly how to break its destructive path. You might think it's all just random, a bit of bad luck. But here's the thing. The way diseases spread is anything but random. It's actually a predictable sequence of events. Think of it like a chain reaction, a line of dominoes just waiting to be tipped over. And the best part? Because it's a chain, it's something we can actually break. And this is our roadmap for how to do it. It's called the chain of infection. There are 6 links here, and each and every one is a potential weak spot. It's a chance for us to step in and stop that chain cold. So to beat the germ, first, we've got to understand its playbook. So let's start with link number 1, the infectious agent. This is our villain, the actual germ that's capable of making us sick. But, not all germs are the same. They actually fall into a few different categories. The 2 big ones you're always going to hear about are bacteria and viruses. So what's the real difference? Well, think of bacteria, like what causes tetanus, as tiny, independent critters. They're living, single-celled organisms that can survive on their own. Viruses, though, they're different. Things like polio or chickenpox are more like microscopic hijackers. They can't do anything until they invade a living host cell and take over its machinery to multiply. And this difference, it's absolutely crucial. It's why antibiotics can knock out bacteria, but they're completely useless against a virus. All right, so our germ is ready to go. This brings us to the next 3 links, which I always think of as the germ's great escape plan. First, it needs a hideout where it can live and grow. That's the reservoir. Then it needs a secret exit, the portal of exit. And finally, it's got to have a getaway car, the mode of transmission. And these germs have all sorts of travel methods. Some are simple. They just spread by direct contact, like scabies. Others, like what causes whooping cough, hitch a ride in bigger droplets when someone coughs or sneezes, but they don't go very far. And then you've got the expert travelers, the airborne germs like measles or TB. These guys can hang out in tiny particles in the air for ages, just floating around, waiting for their next ride. And hey, here's a cool little trick to remember those big 3 airborne diseases. This is straight out of the nursing school playbook. Just think MTV. Measles, TB, and varicella, which is, the fancy word for chickenpox. Super simple way to remember some super serious germs. So our germ has pulled off its great escape. It's out and it's on the move. So what's next? Well, it's got to find a new place to set up shop. And that involves the last 2 links in our chain, the portal of entry, that's the doorway in, and the susceptible host, the vulnerable new target. So what does it mean to be a susceptible host? It's really not about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. See, a germ needs the perfect conditions to actually take hold and grow. Things like not being fully vaccinated, having a weakened immune system, or even just not being in the best general health. All of these things basically roll out the welcome mat for these little invaders. Tuberculosis is the perfect, fascinating example of this. You can have someone with latent TB. That means the bacteria is inside them, but they feel totally fine, no symptoms, and they can't spread it. They're a reservoir, sure, but the chain is stalled. But if that person's immune system gets weaker, that's when it can switch to active TB. And bam, suddenly they're sick, they're contagious, and that chain is back in business. Okay, so we followed the germ's entire playbook from start to finish. We get it. Now for the most important part of all of this. How do we use that knowledge to fight back? Because once you understand how the chain works, you know exactly where and how to break it. The absolute key to defending ourselves, especially when it comes to that last susceptible host link, is to build up our body's own defense system. And we call this biological armor immunity. And we get immunity in 2 main ways. First, there's active immunity. This is where our body does all the hard work. It learns how to make its own antibodies after it's been exposed to a germ, either by getting sick or, way more safely, by getting a vaccine. Then there's passive immunity. This is totally different. It's like someone hands you a temporary shield. You're given ready-made antibodies, like a baby gets from its mother. It works right away, but it doesn't stick around. So our number 1 strategy for building that long-lasting active immunity is through vaccines. I mean, look at these examples. The DPT vaccine teaches our body how to fight off specific bacteria. The MMR and varicella shots train it to spot and destroy dangerous viruses. Getting vaccinated is without a doubt one of the most powerful things we can do to break that susceptible host link.
But hey, breaking the chain isn't all about vaccines and medicine. We all have the power to stop these germs every single day. Every time you wash your hands, you're smashing the mode of transmission. Staying home when you're sick, you're shutting down the reservoir and the portal of exit. Every single one of these simple actions is a direct attack on a specific link in that chain.
And really, it all boils down to this one simple, powerful idea. The chain of infection is only as strong as its weakest link. Our everyday habits, our public health systems, they're all designed to create those weak spots. Every action we take, no matter how big or small, helps break that chain.
So the next time you wash your hands or you cover a cough, remember this chain. You're not just being tidy, you're being a defender of public health. You are a chain breaker. So the only question left is, what link will you break today?